Hi everyone, welcome to Under Thunder Mountain. It's great to be here. It's another day. We have a new day. It's Thursday. It's noon. I hope you woke up well this morning. I know I always say that because the morning wake up is so very important for how we proceed through the rest of the day. There are so many storms going on right now. I'm just taking a moment to gather my my heart energy. As we all know, we're on Facebook. This is the live chat with Dr. Kat. Welcome. And I'm going to watch using ands and so's, although it's my go-to in between transitional. Hawaii, down in the Carolinas, the morning and the evening prayers have been flowing through for all the individuals who are there, for the animals, for the homes and properties, and even though that can be replaced, it's challenging, and it would be better not to have to do that, right? And for the earth, because apparently it's being thrown around so much right now from the waters and the winds and the rains and the rumbles. Virgo, I think I see a good friend in here. Hello, Miss Cynthia. Lovely to see you, dear. And so the prayers are flowing, and I always want to just take a moment at this time to put our prayers together here at Under Thunder Mountain. We're always praying for all different reasons, but today, with everything happening and people having to evacuate, taking that time today to just send a few prayers for the animals and the earth and all the individuals whose lives are being tossed around. And speaking of being tossed around, as I said last week when we were speaking about how we work with our self-love and what are our patterns and how our patterns have shaped our belief systems and how that then can be changed. You don't have to hold an old pattern belief system if you choose to let it go. But we all know that can take time, and being patient and forgiving to oneself is part of the self-love journey. Last week we were talking about having an unrequited love relationship, and what does that feel like? And what does that feel like if you have an unrequited love relationship with yourself? How much self-love do we give to ourselves? Many put love out in servicing, which is a beautiful expression of love, but one always needs to be aware that the pool of love must be constantly refilled. And love comes in so many different forms, doesn't it? It's such a beautiful energy. And it has so many different shapes. When we think of water, which is part of the emotional field of our beinghood, that's when we look at water, we think of tears, and it's our emotional pool. And water can take different shapes. It can become very steamy, and it can become frozen. It can be deluges, like what's happening in so many places right now. So our water barometer, as I've spoken, is a balancing place we want to find between one no reaction. 2, no response really, unless it's a love and light type of response, but a reactive response is just another knee jerk. When we reflect, there are different things that happen with reflections. So reflections and the aspect of love are the 2 topics for today, just in continuing up in our series for self-love. Asking yourself, how do you wake up in the morning? And I've shared some of my tips and tricks about my morning. And what happens in the afternoon? What do you do in the afternoon? Again, I've shared some of that as well. And then into the evening, going to sleep at night, having peace with yourself, being able to lay down with a sense of a clear conscience and evaluate anything that might have happened that could have caused something to come up, because, as I said, all of these individuals that are in our lives are part of our community, and they're organistically part of our whole, and we are vibrating off of one another, and we're there for all different reasons or seasons or lifetimes. And in all these cases, it's an opportunity, as I've said, to move from identifying to reorienting to appreciating the opportunity for growth and reflection, and then raising consciousness and clarity so that you've evolved. I've evolved. And in that evolution of the self, that's then reflected out into the community and the friends that are within your periphery. And then they're going to have their response, reaction, or reflection, depending upon where they are in their life. We're all here, as I've said, we're all here in so many different shapes and forms and so many different dimensions that love is the answer. And it sounds like it's so complex, but when we think of love, just imagine your little doggy. I know you have a doggy. Most people have gotten little doggies, and I know my friend who's on right now, who's watching me, has a doggy. And just think about how loving they are. And we call it unconditional love. The animals in our life we have because they're little familiars, and they teach us and comfort us, and they're our companions, and they're our family, and they help us to grow. So that unconditional love that an animal provides us with is similar, D-O-G, to the God, G-O-D, love that is unconditionally given to us as humans. Then if we have the ability to receive that and become that, we have within us all the love and light of the universe telling us that we are here to love one another. And we're in a grid, and we've been squeezed through a financial portal that we've created, and a political and religious schisms. But ultimately, it's about loving one another, and we can't give what we don't have. And people come into our life and stir us up for different reasons, and each opportunity, I say, is an opportunity for us individually to take the mirror and look and say, okay, how can I expand my consciousness because you've brought this human being into my life for whatever reason? And how can I extend in a way of loving kindness to this other human being? Regardless of my attraction or non-attraction to the human, it's about love. That's an agape love, an unconditional love of God, an unconditional love that lasts forever, because time is forever. So love is a continual energy of infinity in the universe. It will last forever, but we have to fill it up within ourselves, because there's a lot of things that go on in the world, and as with any good oil lamp, you want to keep it full. If you run out of oil, you have no oil to give anyone. Money can't buy you love. Money is a tool, rich or poor, right? We'd rather have money, right? Because it's a great tool in this universe that we live in right now. Money provides us with opportunities to expand and to reach out and help people. Everyone who knows me knows when I wrote Under Thunder Mountain, and my intention is still the same. The book was for healing and reaching out to everyone who was unfamiliar with what an alternative path involves, and to lighten it up and to make it fun and to bring attention into the medical system and to set up a foundation so that other individuals can be funded and be helped through alternative choices. We live in a world where the pharmaceutical industry isn't going to go away. As much as it can co-opt into the alternative world, it's putting its fingerprints and setting up house so that it too can benefit. We want to make sure that we keep our products clean, and when the industries take hold of the products, we lose the power of our food. When we lose the power of our food and how we handle our body, we lose our power. We can't even think clearly. So I'm doing a little reading again today, short from my book, Under Thunder Mountain. It's available on Amazon eBooks for only $2.99. I made it very inexpensive because I wanted to reach a large crowd and I wanted some of the proceeds to go to the foundation. Oxygenated and ready to explore more under Thunder Mountain, I met Mama at Doc's house that afternoon and we headed out for our walk. Mama, I don't know what I'm doing with love. I jumped over a group of blossoms, trying not to smash any, and watched Mama maneuvering herself around them with her cane like a dancer. I don't know why she was a continual reminder to me that I had a choice in how I responded to my circumstances in life. I didn't know if loving was one of the biggest life journeys for me. Loving and losing, living and dying. All I knew was that I was thinking about Jean when she started talking. Nobody really knows what makes love happen, but it be spirit. One thing we do know, childs, there be two kinds of people, you know, there be givers and there be takers. It's just that some be a giving, so there can be a getting. But that ain't God. God be in the love business. Her words led the way as I listened, not knowing what she was painting a picture of when I saw her lean down. She placed her finger out, and an ant crawled up. We be born to love, baby childs. We be a funny, be a killing ants, and be a loving butterflies. She placed the ant on a nearby branch. But all I could think about was why she and ants seemed to be on such friendly terms. Under Thunder Mountain. Life be's about loving, baby childs. Be all's about loving. Okay, loving be bitter and loving be sweet. But if you love someone, we let them go. If you really love someone, we let them go. And that letting go is that unconditional, non-attachment God love that is not, it's not always available in this world. I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems to be getting a little rough out there lately. So maybe that's why I felt inclined to talk about that specifically today. But let us not forget that we have another part of love, and that's the erotic, eros love. And eros love is a beautiful love. It can be the most sensual, beautiful thing in the world. And depending upon how it's been engaged, right, you are able to have even sacred sexual experiences. So erotic love is definitely a part of our human nature, and to be in a world where we're not aware of how to balance between the agape and the eros causes probably some issues. So again, in everything, with food, with how we share our love, how we serve others, and how we share our sorrows, how we share our pains, how we share our hurts. The throat chakra, the opening, the ability to be able to speak, comes from the heart chakra, and the heart, if it's going through a struggle, may not be able to say words properly. And then we must be able to hold one another up depending upon what's going on with that, and help one another out. It's interesting because we live in a world where we do have a lot of reason to focus on the self and to be absorbed in achieving and striving and our goals, but at the same time being inclusive and recognizing the other is part of the human path of evolution. And as I've said before, we go through periods in history where we look at it and we're doing the same thing. We did this 3,000 years ago. Okay, why are we still doing this? How come this is still happening? Haven't we learned yet? I guess not, because we're still here, evolving and sharing and expanding even more. Now moving into artificial intelligence and having this this difference of having a human brain. Okay, I said I'd keep it refreshing and relevant, and I can't help but say this right now because it's very relevant and it can also be refreshing. But now we have a new technology that can be implanted in the brain, and now individuals can walk around with all the knowledge of the universe in their brain. That's definitely an extreme. I don't know if that's where we want to go, but it certainly is something that may be able to help with gaining more knowledge around some of the brain diseases. As many of you know, I go directly to the food, the water, but we have a desire as humans to create and find ways to heal bodies, thinking that the natural path is antiquated and we need to not really do that anymore. And there's quite a bit of it that is. We don't do bloodletting anymore, right? Yay! We do radiation beams. Yay! Okay, now listen, we've got this Virgo moon, it's still in place, and God bless the individuals who are going through the storms, because it's building and it has the that tsunami effect where it backs up and it comes back again. And that's the energy of everything that's going on right now. So if you're having issues with individuals in your world who are kind of like throwing stuff up and throwing things around, choices, and let it ride. Ride the storm. This is still retrograde season. So anything that was formed or that someone was trying to create over the past, well, since January, think about it, isn't really on solid ground, because the retrograde season was all there and we had all the planets upside down, and now everything's coming forward. And as I said, remember, it's like a real tense pull and things are just throwing themselves out, and even well thought out people. It's kind of surprising to see. So I made a crystal grid for everyone to see, and I hope you can see it here with the camera. And in the crystal grid, I have set the rose quartz in 12, and I have amethyst, a rose quartz in the middle, and I have a bluebird of happiness, which is a symbol from my mother. I've set this in for prayers, and as I said before, our crystals are energy receptors, conductors. We use them in our technology, and they hold an energy. This grid has been infused, and I spoke with everyone last session, pardon me while I bend down, about putting your bowl of crystals outside. I do these little things, I'm trying. And getting your grids under the moon through the full, which we're coming up to. We're in a new moon, then to the next new moon. I've got this one in here right now. Excuse me. Just tagged Debbie in. So there's a lot going on. And choosing to be the unconditional agape love in situations, even when there's eros love involved, will always be the wisest choice. Unconditional love is forever, and we all make mistakes and we all have different choices. But holding someone in your heart in a loving place is a warm, beautiful thing to do, because one never knows what's going on with the other person. Just because a person tells somebody something doesn't really mean it's their truth. It's something that they're maybe even going through with denials and fear I spoke about, and leaping from a place of fear into a place of love requires faith. We know that when we have a dislike for a person, or someone would say, I hate that person, that hate-love line is a fine line. As we know, it's more about indifference. Indifference has nothing. And that I think is more opposite of what love is. Fear is the tree from which indifference, the fruit of indifference, and the fruit of the negative energies will be growing from, just like the tree of love has its fruit. Patience and goodness and kindness, and according to a Christian tradition. In the karmic world, we know that it's about karma. But in the tradition of Christianity, it's, pretty much, give unto others as you would like them to give unto you. But so it's a karmic wheel there, different languages, different religions, but again, love reigns all the time. The little machine keeps popping in and out. Who knows why, but I'm hoping that it keeps it moving. Okay, so now we've covered all of this, and this is an example of what I'm going to talk to you about, okay, is the food. So we know the food is crazy, but I just saw the craziest thing about food, where you can get a whole chicken for $1.99. Now seriously, you don't want that whole chicken. Heavens, God knows where that, well, God, really? Find a clean chicken and try not to overpollute your body. everything that we put in us is what's going to come out of us. And it's in our thoughts, it's in our food. Our food is connected to our thoughts. Our brains are connected to the processing of the foods that we have. There are a lot of different types of diseases that have been developing over time. The pharmaceutical industry is embedded in our culture, I think, for 50 years. That's a long time for us as a human race to be turning to a pill for every little ailment and then thinking that the body and the liver is able to remove that. I just imagine a car. It has to have its oil changed and its filter changed, or else the car is going to seize up, right? Basically, that's the same gist. This is a 6-week course that I'm working on. It contains all of the chakras in it. I'm not going to even cover that today. So we talked about what love is and the 2 different types of love, specifically finding the balance between the 2 different types of love. And understanding that the self-love is the most vital life love that we can have for ourselves, which we're receiving off of the vital life love that is given to us. And our connection and the way that we relate to that comes through how we have our day. You know, meditating is a wonderful way to connect with the God love. Prayer, of course, is a conversation with God. As C.S. Lewis said, prayer doesn't change God. Prayer changes me. You know, that's what he said. And so prayer is a conversation. I always think meditation's more listening. So when we sit and practice a lot of quiet time, that's why I become a chatty Cathy when I come out, because I spend a lot of time in meditation. You'd think it would make me quiet, but I remember a story about a guru who had been quiet for most of his time, and then he broke the vow of silence and started talking, and you couldn't quiet him. So I don't know. Balance. Okay, what does it mean to be alternative? Yeah, because alternative for me is a path of self-love, and it's about making choices that honor my body, my mind, my spirit, my soul. I started it a long time ago, probably, like, I'm an old lady now, you know, they say once you're over 60, I don't feel like I'm an old lady, right? I hear my little love bug. I don't feel like I'm an old lady, but we are, in the cultural collective, considered older. But I started this in my high school years, back when we had earth shoes, and I used to wear flowers in my hair, you know, talk to chipmunks. I still do that stuff. So, but it's a definite different type of a approach to how we respond to the different medical issues. Certainly, I don't use any of the medical products at all, not over the counter or under the counter. I'm alternative plant-based, and that's a whole new burgeoning field, and that's a whole big conversation on its own. But the food is my most important go-to, and making sure that I take the time to meditate and take care of my body through yoga and breath work, because oxygen is vital. And then I do the Reiki, a lot of Reiki, as a Reiki master teacher trainer. I have found Reiki to be extremely beneficial because it's a God-conscious vital life force. When people get a little nervous about Reiki because it's a new term, it reminds me of people being nervous about yoga back in the late 60s, 70s. Oh, yeah, well, Carl Jung would say that in the Western tradition, we're not really equipped with the consciousness, because in yoga in the Western tradition, I see a focus a lot on asana, and the asana is the practice on the mat, which is the different body postures that we use. And then we have so many other limbs with Patanjali's 8-limbed tree. So there's a lot of different ways that we practice yoga. But all of the practices are ultimately to bring us into a place of meditation. And in that place of meditation, open pathways of the brain and the pineal gland, we become awakened, and then we return. And